Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. If you enjoy this video, please remember to like and subscribe. On to the article. Gen X was supposed to be peaking. Were we? Were we ever supposed to peak at all? Anywhere? Somewhere in time? Instead, their careers and finances are tanking. Because you keep making horrible movies for us to go watch and regret that we ever spent. How much is a movie ticket now? It's probably more than most people's hourly wage. The Gen X career crisis is having a moment, a viral one. Yeah, because people like me keep going on the internet talking about it. When the New York Times ran a story last month about the wave of mid-career creative professionals hitting obsolescence, it quickly shot to the top of the site's most read list. Readers flooded social media with replies citing the sharp irony of reaching your peak just as your industry flatlines. In the weeks since, a stock market crash has come along to make things worse, triggered by sweeping tariffs and investor unease. When was this written? Because the tariff thing, aside from China, April 22nd, today. At least it was posted today. The downturn has sharply eroded retirement savings and reignited recession fears. The fact that they're not acknowledging that we've been in a recession, scarier than the fact that we might be going into a recession. Hitting hardest just as Gen Xers were supposed to be settling into their peak earning years. Since the start of April, losses have accelerated, leaving the S&P 500 down more than 11% year to date. The NASDAQ plunged 17%, blah, blah, blah. And for mid-career workers who have relied on stock-based compensation to build wealth or bridge career shifts, the sell-off has been doubly punishing. Okay, before we go on here, clearly this article is written by an idiot who is feeding on the fear of everyone else. Gen Xers, if you have a 401k, don't pull the money out. Up however much you're putting into it currently to buy on the cheap. When it rebounds, as the stock market always does, you will have higher gains in the next 2 to 3 years than you would if everything was stable. This is not financial advice, it's just common fucking sense. This isn't Generation X's first system collapse. No shit, Sherlock. It might just be the most literal, and for many it feels like a final insult. Okay. Again, I am 20 years away from retirement. If retirement is still 65 by then, which it won't be, it'll probably be like 70, 72. And even at that point, I probably still won't be able to retire because shit is fucked. But, no, we've been through this how many times now? Gen X, would you have had a retirement account during the dot-com bubble? Probably not. 2008, yes. And a lot of morons, a lot of idiotic morons I watched stop putting money into their 401k or 403b. They pulled money out in a panic to try to put it into something else, which everything dropped in value at that time. So, depending on what they put it into, they might have not have gotten a return. And then in the end, they lost out more because they were not buying the cheap stocks that were available at the time that they could have been investing into. If they're still doing that 20 years later, 15 years later, they've learned nothing. The middle child generation gets margin called. Born between 65 and 80, Gen X came of age with punk rock and Reaganomics. No, like we were children. Like we knew of Reagan. We saw him in Genesis music videos, but well, Nancy and I are still trying to find the other half of my brain. Learned to code in BASIC and entered the workforce only to be met with a near continuous series of economic disruptions. The 1991 recession. We would know. Like high school? So in high school, you're talking about in high school. When they're working in malls. The dot-com bust, the 2008 financial crisis, and COVID crash. Now in their mid-40s, late 50s, they're navigating careers and retirement prospects shaped by technologies and economic shocks that they never saw coming. These years were supposed to be about payoff for those in white-collar fields and for workers in skilled trades alike. By their 50s, many Gen Xers expected to be earning their highest salaries, gaining seniority, maybe even paying off a mortgage. Instead, they're scrambling to stay relevant in jobs that have been automated, outsourced, reclassified to gig work. The promise of hard-won security has been replaced by physical strain, shrinking benefits, and rising anxiety about what happens if the market keeps failing. This economic downturn feels a little more foreboding. For Rebecca Moon Rourke, a 50-year-old marketing professional and mother of two outside Annapolis, Maryland, the moment feels eerily similar and much harder to rebound from. The story continues. Rourke has spent the last 15 years building a career in higher education communications, particularly in direct mail. It was a niche she loved, one that once paid well, but lately the work has been drying up. With the rise in popularity and usability of machine learning, AI, and popular language models like ChatGPT, I'm receiving fewer direct mail jobs, and I've noticed a definite downturn from the last 6 months. She recalled one moment when her human edge still won out. A client pitted her copy against ChatGPT's. Her version performed better. I didn't give it much thought then. Now I know better. In higher ed writing, pay has stagnated for more than 15 years, and she said that the more consistent contract work she has secured still requires a human touch. Still, work is increasingly uneasy about the future. I'm sorry, but AI. I have a feeling that businesses that try to switch over to AI are going to quickly learn that AI is going to cost them more than if they just kept people on the payroll. The freelance safety net tore open right as portfolios tanked. Though several years younger than Rourke, Dori Shafrir also spent her entire career chasing work through an ever-shifting media landscape and now finds that the chase is getting harder. After the 2008 crash, she left a full-time job and quickly landed freelance work. That is not the world now. A longtime journalist and podcaster, they are part of what she calls Generation Catalano, born just after Gen X, and she has weathered every boom and bust cycle in media since the early 2000s. Her resume reads like a time capsule of digital publishing rise and fall. Gawker, New York Observer, BuzzFeed in its heyday. See? In its heyday. She thrived in the freelance economy that followed the last crash, eventually launching a successful podcast and writing a memoir. She pivoted again with the rise of Substack, writing a motherhood-focused newsletter. But the group keeps shifting. Podcast ad revenue has shrunk. Direct-to-consumer brands have pulled back. Substack feels like a supplement, not a solution. Glad somebody's reading something on Substack, because it's definitely not my stuff. I've got consistent readers. I appreciate you. Plenty of very talented people are not working. And this time there may not be an obvious next move. The tariffs have people really spooked. It feels like a death spiral. Really? The hardest round yet. For some, the challenge isn't just adapting, it's enduring. A San Francisco-based video producer and editor in her 40s who asked to remain anonymous due to employment concerns said that this latest stretch of unemployment has been her most brutal yet. After years of stable corporate work, she made a strategic pivot in her early 40s, hoping the shift into full-time editing as a chronic illness made physical demanding on-site shoots harder to manage. The transition, let me guess, fibromyalgia. Transition came with a pay cut, but she saw it as a necessary recalibration until the pandemic hit. After losing one job in an office to in-office mandates she couldn't physically meet, she's been job hunting ever since. 99 applications, 25 formal rejections, one interview, likely only because she knew someone on the team. Most of the jobs I see for future creatives pay very low. Well, it sounds like you're not really making yourself accessible, but I have an illness. The end of all these career paths. For Julie Lindell Whitehead, a 54-year-old writer and mental health advocate, she's crazy. In Mississippi, the crisis goes beyond job loss. It's about erosion of purpose, of professionalism, and the human voice itself after maintaining a blog for over a decade about living with bipolar disorder. She crazy. She discovered her writing had been scrapped to help train Chat GPT. GPT? I thought it was GPT. I think I've been saying that wrong forever. GDP? GPT. It's theft, she said plainly. Once a college instructor, she left teaching after watching plagiarism give way to AI-assisted workarounds. When asked recently to give career advice to a high school writer, she declined. What? Why? When asked recently to give career advice to a high school writer, she declined. The scary thing is watching the devaluation of human ability. She said a lot of us have spent a lot of time practicing our craft, writing or coding or accountancy or engineering. Accountancy? And we're possibly looking at the end of all of these other career paths. Recession in real time from just across the border. Michael Bourne, a 59-year-old novelist and teacher who moved to Canada from the US, you're bad, in 2012. Seized the moment from both sides and outside. He came of age in a newspaper industry, working his way up through local dailies before realizing in the early 90s that something fundamental had changed. Technology killed it. Nobody saw it, he said. Now, from his home in Vancouver, he watched the U.S. economic fallout with a sense of deja vu. There's real-life affection for American culture here, he said, but people are frightened and saddened by what's happening. This could easily send Canada into a recession too, he said. It's miserable, really bad. Okay. Why? Like, none of the people who were interviewed for this, none of them are blue collar, for one. I'm going to point that out. They're all like a writer of some sort with like some type of office job. And office jobs, as I looked up earlier today, because somebody made a comment about how I was obviously angry at office staff workers and how I viewed it as not a real job. They are 12.2% of the U.S. workforce, the U.S. population, at 82 million, I believe. out of 350 plus million in the country. So 12.2%. And I was pointing out, Office Space, The Office, Parks and Rec. There's a whole slew of entertainment and shows based on office people for being 12% of the workforce. You don't see any shows about plumbers, electricians. You had one about a shoe salesman with Married with Children back in the day. But no, for some reason, office culture and office personnel, in my view, tends to dominate for some reason the entertainment industry. That was something I was pointing out. And the one question I asked was, what percentage of people in the US actually work in an office setting to make it to where this is always at the forefront of entertainment for the general public? Like, how many people can really closely associate with these shows? 12%. And clearly here, even in this article, I'm pointing out, got a teacher, you got somebody who works in film with editing, so clearly works in an office going over different snippets of film, yes, I know, old term, but whatever, video footage. But I'm not seeing any blue collar on here whatsoever. No factory workers, no electricians, no plumbers, no carpenters, automotive workers. It's all and the final argument was, where are the jobs going to be for the creators in the creative industry? Good question. I don't know. I wish I could have ever had gotten into any of that industry, but it's who you know or blow in order to do so. And I don't have the ability to do either. So anyways, on a side note, speaking of creative endeavors, I do have 2 new books coming out. One of them is already out. It's a children's book called The Mouse Family of Tustin Hill. And my second book, Deadstream Swamp, comes out May 1st. So if you are so inclined, check those out. Deadstream Swamp is based on... It's a fictional account of real missing person cases from the northern Michigan area. If you are so inclined to look into that, check it out, buy a copy. I would be eternally grateful because, after all, I think everybody at this point is hurting in one way or another, and it would be entertaining. You actually get something for your money as opposed to super chats. Like, really, super chats. Like, I never understood super chats. Like, how the hell does that work? And then you have idiots like Tim Pool who just, I'm not even reading that one. Dude just gave you $5. Read the question. So anyways, you can get something for your money, you can help me out, and maybe even enjoy a good story. So, Gen X was supposed to be peaking. Yeah, not really happening. Keep in mind, we're probably the ones that were running Occupy Wall Street. We were definitely Bernie bros. Not me in particular, but it was probably my generation who had already been shit on for quite a while, who were probably the Bernie bros. Yeah, not peaking. Retirement is not looking good. And we're used to it. We are used to the BS. So that is our reality. And I'm not seeing any good arguments from this article or the one previously that I had read as to why we should think any differently about life in general. Because we just keep getting the chair pulled out from under us time and time again. And it gets to the point where we just sit there wondering, is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen? Oh, there it is. Because it's inevitable in just about every situation. Keep on typing.